Good evening, everyone. Welcome to all the faculty members. Good evening, good evening. Prithviraj ji, good evening, Kamal ji. How many of you have been able to log into Future Skills Prime and start the course? You can type in the chat box. Prithvirajan ji from Tamil Nadu. You've been able to log into the Future Skills Prime. Very good, very good. Excellent, excellent. It's nice to hear from you guys that you have done the course because otherwise all the complaints I get is like we have not been able to log in. No problem, no problem. You can take your time, Jyoti ji. No worries. Because I just want to know if there is any problem that we want to support you so that you can access the Future Skills Prime website. It is for all of you. Hello, Raji.
Yeah,
Welcome.
hello. Yeah, hello,
Your
hello. Good
lighting is
evening.
really bad.
Yes, I'll have to just give me a minute.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Please
Let
change. Otherwise,
let
it's just
let me just
darkness.
set my position.
Sahaj Maruji, the certificate has also been generated. That's really good. Congratulations. You can take the assessment till anytime till Sunday. Until that time, you can also complete the course. Harshil ji, your certificate is generated. Great, great, wonderful.
Do we have any other light? Pakistan lights around.
It is slightly better, but still, if you see the like my lighting, there is light is on my face.
Yes, I get it. But I think this is the
Best.
best I can do. And
Okay. And the light
it's
is also
better.
flickering somehow. No, it's
Yeah,
not really
yeah, that.
better. If you can, if you can flip, yeah,
Yeah,
slightly better.
yeah, it is flickering. It is flickering. So give me a minute. Let me just shift to the room. Okay.
Yes, yes, please. Thank you.
Yeah.
Um, okay. We'll just wait for everyone to join. I'll also message in the group that people should join in.
लाइट ऑफ एक और लाइट है ना लेकिन यहाँ पे टेबल नहीं है ना हम्म, उसको वाले रूम में टेबल था
Okay, Manas Das ji, there is a question from you. Where can I get assessment? Assessment you will get on Future Skills Prime. I have shared the step by step guide in the WhatsApp group also, and I will share it again for you over here. Okay. Just give me a minute. I'm sharing the step by step guide with everyone how to complete the module. So you just go to the Future Skills Prime, go to your group, and you will be able to you will be able to this desktop. Wait. I'm just sharing the step by step guide for accessing Future Skills Prime. Watching video is enough, yeah, but you need to take the assessment. You need to take this, Santi ji. You need to, Santi. It's not mapped to Future Skills Prime. Whatever is your registered email ID on Natal, that is mapped to Future Skills Prime. Basically, your registered email ID is mapped with the your registered email ID is mapped to Future Skills Prime. Santi ji, tell me what have you put in, what you need to do, Santi ji, is everyone's email ID has been mapped. So Santi ji, you put your registered email ID, that is your login also, that is your password also, and then you reset your password. Can you do that now and just tell me? Huh. The final assessment you can take it by Sunday. Last day to complete the assessment is till Sunday evening. Okay, because Monday we will take out the results and we will put it on Atal on Tuesday. So by Wednesday, your certificates, you have to go to Atal on Wednesday, which is 18th. 18th, you go to Atal. We will be uploading your marks. Then you give your feedback over there, and then you can download your certificate in case you have scored 70% and above. If not, then you'll not get the certificate. And Santi ji, I want you to put in the chat what is the login ID and password that you have used on Future Skills Prime. Kindly put that so that I can check that.
Is it better now? I guess it is better.
Huh, the light is not flickering.
Flickering, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is still a little dark, but I guess.
Yeah. And
Mm.
Santi ji, okay, what have you put in the password? Can you also share that? Manas Das ji, you also please share in the chat what is the, and then reset your password, Santi ji. After doing this, please reset your password. You will be able to log in. Only one attempt is there for assessment. There is no Atal assessment. Yeah, Alagu Meenakshi ji, your email ID and password, put that in this thing. Suppose your email ID is santi@gmail.com. So that's your login also, that's your password also, and then you reset your password. Vartika Mishra ji, all of you, I will request you. Suppose Vartika ji's email ID, which is registered on Atal, is vartika@gmail.com. Okay, so your login on Future Skills Prime is vartika@gmail.com. Your password on Future Skills Prime is also vartika@gmail.com. Once you do that, it will ask you, no, you just please share this screenshot with me, Alagu Minakshi ji. Kindly share the screenshot where you have put your email ID, both, and then it has not asked you to reset the password. Yeah, okay, I'm sharing the link for login. One second. And then I will hand it over. And I'm also sharing the step by step guide. So kindly, yeah. With that, I'll hand it over to Raj for his session.
Okay, hello everyone. Very good evening, all of you. Right, and I hope that all of you is having a wonderful sessions. Right, so you have already taken a lot of sessions. Right, so you have learned about what is machine learning. You have learned about what is data science. You have learned about what is AI. Right, so there are a lot of terms that you have heard, or there are a lot of terms that you have known right now. Again, trust me, all those topics is very important as this topic is as right. And the reason I'm saying is because currently, right, so today is the data of, so today is the era of data, right? And today we are going to learn about big data. We'll be discussing about how to handle big data. We'll be discussing about what are the different way, what are the this different tools and techniques we have to explore the data. Now we'll be also discussing about how to manage or how a different enterprises manages the data, right? So yeah, so again, this will be all around data, right? So let me just share the screen. Good evening, everyone. And yeah, this is Raj Yadav, right? And I have total more than 10 plus years of experience I have as a trainer, as a faculty, and as a developer as well. So I have also a good amount of experience in the industry, right? While maintaining a software or writing a software, handling data and all those stuff, right? And yeah, and again, I explain about data, I explain about machine learning, I explain about data science, I explain about deep learning. I know all of you have already heard these terms, and all of you already know this many terms around these big terms. Like like when you like when you hear about this deep learning, so again you might have heard about RNN, CNN, what is convolutions and neural network, right? So there are a lot of terms that you have heard, right? Now I also take session on, I would say that it's a large language model. I also take session on how this chat GPT, how this Gemini kind of stuff works together and how to build those systems, right? Once you have a good amount of, or like once you have this good amount of all the knowledge that is required to be a LLM engineer, right? So, yeah, so with this, let's get started. Let me just share my screen to everyone. Uh-oh. So let's just share. Okay, I'm sharing this entire screen now, and here it is. Okay, and one more thing. Let me just enlarge this one. Okay. Now, so first, we'll be discussing about what are the different strategy guide we have for the data analysis. We'll be discussing about what is data. We'll be discussing about what are the data analysis concepts. What are the data analysis tools, right? So let's get started. Now, when we are talking about a data, right? So basically this data was already there as a terms, right? But this data became famous when we heard about big data. Now, what is big data when we are referring to? So big data is all about how we handle a huge amount of how we handle this enormous amount of data generated by the organization, generated by the people like me, like you, right? And generated by the software like the GPT, right? Like the Google Map, right? These are the multiple software, or I would call it tools, right? So these are no longer called a software, these are called tools. Like Google Map is a tools, right? So how this system generate data and how many organizations handle this data. So again, with this, we have total four verticals of big data. The one is volume. That means how big our data is. That is what volume is. And when we talk about velocity, this means how, like at what speed we are increasing the data and in what form we are generating the data, whether that this data is structured data, whether this is unstructured data, whether this is a semi-structured data. This things comes under a variety. And when we talk about this veracity, this means is the data we are generating, is it a good data, is it a reliable data, is it the accurate data or not, right? So yeah, this big data have these four terms: volume, velocity, variety, and veracity. Now, in the variety, you have heard this term called semi-structured, unstructured, and structured data. So what is structured data? When we talk about the structured data, so structured data is all about, I'll say that, generating a tabular kind of information, right? Let's say that you are creating a database, you are writing the Excel sheet, because we have a specific format of the data. We have how many number of columns, we have the number of rows, right? We have a type of data that is called structured data. right? Now, when we talk about unstructured data, this means that we are generating the data, but we are not maintaining the data. Like we have, like we have generated even a tabular data, we have even generated a image data, we have even generated a URL or a lot of form of data we have. That is called unstructured data. And then when we talk about the semi-structure, that means this is the mixture of both, right? So this is so this is how we know this big data terms. Now, the question is, why does this big data we are talking about, why it is being mattered? Why certainly, or maybe it's basically this big data came around 2017 approx. So basically, a newsletter was published or a journal was published. I think that was from the Harvard or Stanford. I guess it was from Harvard, and then around 2017, they have kind of reported and they have explained why the big data will be the next future. And see, think about back in 2017 and back in 2025. It is not much. It is just 7 years old, I'm saying, right? Now, within the 7 years, this entire thing has changed. So basically we have changed how we write the code. We have changed how the software is being developed. It has been changed how we interact with our gadgets. It has been changed how we interact with our laptops, how we interact with our application as well, right? So even these applications have become like even these applications have been changed, right? So there are now AI in your phones, there are now AI in your systems, right? There are now AI in your smartwatches, right? So yeah, so I think approx every gadgets that we handle or that we interact with, they have the AI, right? And they have this like in any form, like in some forms, right? We are using those AI, and now those AI was only possible because of big data, right? Now, because to make the AI as a possible or to train the AI, we needed a big data back in 2017, and just a few years after, our we have built a very smart app, this artificial intelligence by using those big data, right? And now we are interacting with that, right? Again, all of you, if you have any query, just put it a chat, right? Let's say that. Okay. Now, but when this big data was there, right? So why this industry was kind of investing a lot of time. So trust me, earlier 3 to 4 years in the AI era or like in the big data era, industry have not, I would say that they have not earned any money, but they have spent money by storing the data, by creating this cloud infrastructure and all those things, right? So yeah, this data was helpful for the various organizations to take the decision based action, right? Sorry, to take the action based on the evidence, right? Again, here are the few industry like we can improve the healthcare, or we have been improving the healthcare. Okay, Paresh is asking where are you from? Okay, my accent is from Bihar. We live in Gujarat, and currently I'm in Varanasi. So currently, so yeah, so it's a lot of things, right? But yeah, I'm from Bihar. Now, yeah. So these data have been helping in various industry, and here are the few cases like improving healthcare, understanding customer in the retails, securing finance and banking. Right. So with the basically what this industry have done, they have analyzed the data, right? And they have analyzed, let's say that when we talk about this healthcare, right? So this healthcare have analyzed these various or millions of patient informations and understand what treatment plan they are using, how to improve these, how to even create a specific treatment plan based on what have been failed and what have been succeeded, right? Now again, in the retail industry, right, this industry can analyze the purchasing behavior of the persons. That means they can see which person is buying what, right? And then based on that, they can understand that we can market the specific customer to a specific product, right? And based on that, they can take advantages of that, right? Yes, Paris. Yeah. Rajkot, Gujarat. Yeah, that's great. That's great. Now we have securing finance and banking. How this big data help us, like help in the banking sector? Again, the one of the biggest reasons for the banking is securing the banking transactions. So basically, there are a lot of miscellaneous transaction happens, right? A lot of I would say that a fraud transaction happen, and to stop that, right, big data was being very much helpful, right? Now, now we had discussed about, yeah, good evening, Koish. So now we have discussed about the usage of big data, but let's go a step back and then we understand what are the two flavor of data, right? So now we are going to a deep dive into the root of the data. So there are two form of data we have. One is quantitative data, other one is qualitative. Now when we talk about quantitative, it's all about you can measure by a number. That means, let's say that how much was sales last year. So basically here we are trying to understanding a number of a specific numbers, right? Let's say that if a person is visiting our website, how many times it has been clicked. Consider that you have been marketing the Instagram, right? You have some product. Now you want to know how many people are clicking on the store or like shop now button in the Instagrams. That can be countables. So those are the informations is called quantitative data. And when we talk about qualitative, it's all about subjective questions or it's all about subjective data and which cannot be directly measured by the number. So consider that what is the sentiment of this product. Let's say that a new mobile phone was launched. Now some people liked it, some people not. Let's take a case of nothing phone. Initially when the nothing phone was launched, many people were very much excited, but the many people was very much disappointed from the nothing because the customer for the nothing was very much different. So they have a different kind of customers and they were serving those customers specifically, right? So that is qualitative data, right? Now let's say that if you want to know or if you want to understand the text, that is a qualitative data. If you want to understand the product review, that is qualitative data. If you want to understand the survey response, right, people fill survey forms, right? You want to know what are the understanding from the survey form, that is qualitative data, right? So again, knowing the difference between these two, quantitative and qualitative, right, it's a huge win thing, right? So it's a huge win situation. Once you know what kind of data we have, right, now you can take a specific decisions to dig deeper into the data. Okay. Now, to dig deeper into the data, that means, so when I'm saying this dig deeper, I'm talking about how do we analyze those data. So there are three level of analytics that we can perform. One is descriptive analysis, second one is diagnostic analysis, and the third one is predictive analysis. Now, when we talk about descriptive analysis, this means that, so let's say that when you have to understand what was the, let's say that we are selling a four product, what was the total sales based on what product? Like how much was sales for product A, how much was sales for product B? Basically, we are just trying to get the summary of what has happened. That is what the descriptive analytics is, right? Let's say that if you just want to understand a basics descriptions like what is the average value, what was the maximum sale, what was the minimum sales, right? So all this information, or let's say that when you want to know if you are selling of total 5 to 10 product, and then if you want to know which product was being sold higher, then for that you need to calculate mode of whatever the value you have, right? That is descriptive analysis. So the thing has been already happened, we have a data of that specific event, and now we want to analyze what that event gives you. So basically that is descriptive analysis. Now when we talk about diagnostic, so again, now once we know, let's say that we know a product C was being sold for a longer time. That means the maximum sale from our all product category, product C was the highest sales. Now you want to know why this product was at the highest sale. Basically, we just want to go deeper, and then we want to understand the root cause of why this event has happened. Even the event is good or bad, we do not care, but sorry, we do care, but we want to care. Let's say that if the product was being sold for like kind of a specific product was being sold for a longer time, that means you want to know why the other product was not being sold, right? So basically here we are just trying to dig deeper inside the what has happened, right? So that is called diagnostic analysis, right? We want to understand the patterns and why this pattern has happened, right? That is a diagnostic analysis, right? Oh, now, now what is predictive analytics? Now predictive analytics is all about, let's say that you have already deducted that what is the summary, then you have deducted why this summary is this, why our summary looks like this, and now you want to predict. Let's say that you want to understand what will happen if this event, if this pattern will go on for the next 5 months. That means you want to understand the future value. For that we use the predictive analytics, right? So we use this historical data, right? And then we combine some machine learning stuff on that historical data, right? That is a predictive analytics, right? Okay, let me know if anyone have any query. All of you, please put the questions in a chat. All of you. Hello. Yes, everyone. Please put in a chat if you have any query. Do we have any query, all of you? No. Sahad says no, no. Okay, good, good. Okay. Now this is a signal that all of you are understanding it, right? Great. Now let's move further. Now, once we know the three type of analytics, let's say that once we have dig deeper and then we have understood that either we want to do the descriptive, either we want to do the diagnostic, or either we want to do the predictive analytics based on that. And now to do that analytics, we have the multiple tools. We call this as an toolkits. Now remember, these are just a few tools that I have named over here, right? These are not the only tools. Remember, these are the machine learning tools, and in the machine learning umbrella, there are a lot of tools are there. But these are the few tools that people use in the industry for the specific purpose, right? Now, so we have the six essential toolkits like the A/B testing, like the regression analysis, like the data mining, like cluster analysis, like time series and NLP, right? Now, now let's understand about the A/B testing. Now, what is A/B testing? Now, this testing is being required when we want to compare a two group of output, right? For example, consider that you have built a website, right? And now we want to understand which, like whether this website is kind of catchy or not, whether people is liking the website or not, or in more general. So what happens? Let's say that when you click on any website, you just scroll through it. And once that scrolling makes sense, once you scroll it, you do not have to kind of take a lot of effort to understand the this layout of the website, right? Now, once if the layout of the website is very much accurate, so you will understand that that website is very good, right? That means the meaning of the website is served. And sometimes what happens is the information of the website is not put in a way that it should be, right? So what people do is, in industry, people try the various website page format, right? Whether this website is being liked most or whether this website is liked most. So that is what the A/B testing is, right? Here we are pushing this two website to two different group of people, right? Remember, we always check that. So we always test a specific product or a specific website for a specific group. Okay, that is what. And then we control, like then we compare the result, right? Similarly we do for the product features, right? Similarly we do for the, let's say that again, one other thing is, so one real example that we have all faced, right? You might have seen that, let's say that around 2022, so around 2020, right? We have all gone through the a kind of very different situations, right, during the COVID, right? But when this COVID had started, you might have been seeing that, or you might have been having news in a website, like news that this specific drug or this specific vaccine was tested for a specific group of people. This vaccine was being tested to a different group of people. You might have seen that, and many people have opted. Let's say that if the patient's condition is severe, right? So many doctors have voluntarily put the vaccine drug to the patient. Basically, they have been testing out live which vaccine is good, and then they have figured it out that this drug is efficient for a specific group of people. This drug was efficient for a specific group of people, right? We have all seen that scenario, right? That was the live example of A/B testing, where we test a specific vaccine to a specific group of people. Okay, now now let's talk about regression analysis, right? Now, what is regression analysis? Now, when we talk about regression, so again, this is a statistical method, and this analysis was there for a longer time. That means, I think this technique was being designed or developed a very long ago. Even this machine learning term came into the picture, right? So this technique help you to understand the relationship between two and more variables. So when I'm talking about relationship between two and more variables, right? Okay, Tanvir is asking AB website cache means again. Tanvir, can you just ask again? I didn't understand. So are you asking about to explain AB testing again? Yes, Tanvir, Sultana. Great. Okay. So let me repeat this. Okay, A/B testing is all about testing a specific product, testing a specific feature, or testing a specific drug or anything in a control group of people, right? That means, let's say that you have seen that, like, let's say that some drug was kind of tested on the, or like recommended for the older people. The same drug was not recommended for the younger people for the same disease, right? So here what we see that the drug A was very much good for the older people, but the drug B is efficient in the younger people. So what we are trying to do, we are trying to identify which product was being suited on which type of I'll say that on which type of populations, right? So that is what the A/B testing is. Makes sense now? Tanvir, did you understood? I hope this had made sense. Now, this regression analysis is all about, here we try to predict how one variable is affected the other variable. That means, let's say that if you want to understand, or if you have coming from advertising background, or let's say that you have seen or like you might have thought about spending or like launching some your own product, right? So you might have seen that now we need to advertise, now we need to advertise on that specific product. Now to do advertising you have to spend money. So again, like in Instagram, right? So we spend money on ads and then we want to understand that means spending 2000 how much sales we can generate, spending 5000 how much sales we can generate, spending 7000 how much sales we can generate. So here we want to understand how one variable changes which affect the other variable. That means if you send, like if you spend more on the ad, will you be getting more sales? That is what the regression analysis is, right? So if you have to, not just one variable, like here we are only talking about spending ads, but not just ad. Let's say that we can add others, like other variable as well, right? So we can have many independent variables, right? That is what the regression analysis is. Now we'll talk about data mining, right? So what is data mining? So data mining is again a statistical method, and this is coming from the machine learning background, like this machine learning terms, right? And this technique help you to find patterns from the large data set, right? So again, when we have a big data, first we use this data mining type of technique to segregate the data, because when we store the data, right, or when we deal with the big data, right, so those big data, I'll say that it was not kind of in a proper format, right? Those big data was not meaningful when you do not understand it. So we use data mining to understand the large data set or big data set. Now this technique help you to understand the hidden patterns of the data, right? And it also help you to understand, like basically what happens is basically this will kind of like under the this data mining, right, there are multiple techniques that is also we are going to discuss, right? But yeah, this is what the data mining is, right? So Murthy is saying data mining is for recreation, sir. Okay, not. Data mining is for understanding the data, right? Let's say that, how to say that? uh, let's say that you want to kind of like, let's say that you have this huge pile of data you have bought, right, for your own businesses, right? So now you will understand out of this huge group of data which information is very much meaningful to us. Now for that you will use a data mining. We'll also be discussing about this data mining in the second chapters, right? But yeah, that is what the data mining is. Now, as an advanced technique, we have this multiple technique called clustering, time series, and NLP. Now, what is clustering analysis? So, clustering is all about grouping the data that are similar to one another, right? That means if we have a huge amount of data and if we want to separate all the unique data, right, into a one group, or all the liked data into a one group, that is what the clustering analysis is. And again, let me tell you, data mining uses this clustering analysis technique, right, to finding or like to finding a hidden patterns, or like to finding a hidden information from the data, right? So the primary goal of the clustering analysis is, it's all about segmenting the large data set, like let's say that we have the huge pile of data, right, into a smaller and a manageable groups, so that you can dig deeper in those smaller group and then you understand what is there in the data. Okay. Now we'll be talking about time series analysis, right? Now, this time series analysis is all about analyzing the data collected over a specific period, right? So whenever we will like whenever we have a data collected over a time, like a temperature, what was temperature yesterday, what is temperature now, what will happen tomorrow, like what will be the temperature for tomorrow. Now this is a time series type of analysis where we have a time type of information in our data. Now, based on the time series, again, I will give you this real example, like what were the sales in the next week? Like, sorry, what will be the sales in the next week? What was sales in the previous week? Right? What was sales in the previous month? Right? So these type of information is uses a time series analysis to understand a specific pattern in the businesses or understand a specific pattern in a data, right? Now we have this natural language processings, right? So this natural language processings is a kind of, I'd say that it's a field of AI which deal with the text type of informations, right? So again, we have multiple, like not multiple. I think today we generally generate more text data compared to the tabular data, right? We always put comment, right? We always write reviews. We always add some text in some forms, right? So NLP has become key part in the today's market or in the today's time, right? And for that, dealing with the text data is very required, and for that we use natural language processings, right? Which help you to understand what is there in the text, which help you to understand what people are talking about. Right? Consider that you have launched a product on the Amazon or like similar kind of website. Now people buy the product, they give review, they talk about whether the product is as per the, like whether it is a good as per price or not, whether the product quality is cheap or not, what they have liked about the product, what they have disliked about the product. Now they put their emotions, they put their I would say that thought into a text format in the form of review. So that information is being understood by natural language processings. I hope this had made sense to all of you. Please let me know if you have any query, whatever we have discussed till now. Right. Now, no query, all of you? Hello? Please put in a chat if you have any query. Great. I'm guessing that everyone is being everyone is understanding and grasping this content, right? Great. Now, there are 5-step path we have to do this analysis, to do whatever we are finding, whatever we have been discussing, right? So now we have a data. Now to convert that data into a decisions or to convert that data into answers, we have a specific format. So what we do, let's say that you have some problems. Now, based on that problem, you define the questions, right? So let's say that, see, sometimes what happens is we know what the problem is, but we are not able to convert that problem into a clear questions. First task is, so this is what every businesses do. They try to convert the problems into a specific question so that they can get answer from the data. And this is very much important. Converting to a specific format is very important. So this is the first step we have. Now, once we know, let's say that, consider that you have been selling a kind of a water bottle. Now you have been selling this water bottle for past 2 years, but now you see some gradual decrease in the sales, right? So now you need to pose the questions in a specific format. So let's say that you will pose that why the sales was like, what is the sales pattern of this specific product from this date to this date. Let's say that from 2017 to 2019. Once you have these questions, once you have this formatted question, now you will collect the data for this question. So what you will do, you will try to extract the sales from 2017 to 2019 for the specific product, right? That is what the data collection process, right? Where we try to identify what type of informations we have based on what problem we have. We have to understand what type of problem we have. So over here, let's say that we just want to understand why the sales have been decreasing since this specific month or a specific year. Now to solve that problem, you have to extract the quantitative information. You have to extract the exact sales value and all those value. So you have to extract the numbers. Now let's say that what people are talking about, what are the people's sentiment about my product. Now for that you need to extract the text data. So here this information is called qualitative data. So again, see, as the questions have changed, we have changed our data collection format, right? So that is the second step, data collections. The third step is based on what type of data you have, you will have to clean the data. So cleaning the data always comes removing any null value, removing any kind of error, or making the data in a proper format. That also comes as a data cleaning. Okay. Now, once we clean the data, we will analyze the data. That means we will convert that data to a charts. We will convert the data to a tables. Maybe we can take the summary, or maybe we can extract or like get the word cloud to understand the sentiment, right? This is all about analyzing the data. That means what kind of problem we have, what kind of data you have. Based on those, we use a different analytical technique to solve our purpose. Here comes now when we have to analyze the data. Now for that we have these technique, what kind of problem we have, right? Once we analyze the data, we have to share that data to the stakeholder. Let's say that you are working for a company, or let's say that you are working for your own self, right? So you need to convert those data into a chart. You need to convert those data into a graph so that it can be easily schemable. Remember, in the data analytics, in the data science, right? So schemable making, or like making report into a schemable format is very important thing, right? So that means we want to convert the information in a way that just by looking at it, we can understand what is problem, what is happening in our businesses, right? Like instead of creating a table, we will create a graph, right? Instead of just putting out a simple percentage of a text, we will create a word cloud, right? So that is what shareable result. We want to convert our result into a clear narrative way. Now someone has asked about what is the difference between sentiment analysis and NLP. Okay. Sentiment, okay, first you understand NLP. NLP is all about dealing with the text data, right? As a simple, so NLP is a very broad term. Now the sentiment analysis comes under the NLP, because let's say that when you have to understand what people are talking about our product. So for that, what we do, we will use the NLP technique to understand the text data, right? And we will convert whether the people are like, how many people are talking about positively, how many people are talking about negatively. That is what the sentiment analysis is, right? So sentiment analysis comes under the NLP. NLP is a very broad terms. Okay. Have I answered, Rajesh Kumar? Have I answered your questions? Okay. Now Silpa is asking, filling data values comes under which stage? Filling data means it is about data collection stage. Okay. Filling data and getting all this is about data collection stage. Second stage. Now Bhavin is asking word count. How many number of times that the word spoken frequently of the word count. Yeah, that is what the word count is. And actually so basically I've been talking about word cloud. So once we create a word count, we will kind of, so again I want all of you to just google it about the word cloud, right? So the images of the word cloud, once you see the images of the word cloud, you will understand what that means. That means if the word has been repeated for the multiple times, or for the, let's say that some word has been repeated for the most of the time, now those word will be in the center, and it will be in the bigger text, right? So yeah, that is what the word count is, right? Yes, Bhavin, have I answered your question? Let me know. Now, again, that once we are deal with all this, the next step is we want to convert our analysis into a compelling story, right? As I have just said, compelling story means we want to convert our data to a interactive dashboard. That means, so again, for the interactive dashboard, we have a two tools, right? One is Tableau, other one is Microsoft, right? So again, both are paid, but this Microsoft, again, this Power BI is coming from the Microsoft. Tableau is their like it's this own organization, right? So both are kind of premium products, right? We can use those products to kind of convert your finding into a compelling chart. That is what this Tableau and Microsoft helpful is, right? Now, okay, wait a minute. Yeah. Now, how do we power this data? Like we have been discussing about what we can do with the data. We have been discussing about what are the this different type of the data. We have been discussing about a lot, right? Now, how do we store the data? What are the different tools we have to store the data? Let's say that we have a different usages. Now, for the different usages, we have a different form of storing. We have a different means of storing. That is what the model toolkit is. That means this model toolkit will is all about storing and maintaining and managing the data with the analysis. For Power BI, the free version is also available, and also for Tableau. But I think this Tableau will ask you the organization email ID, I guess. But I guess this Power BI is available, but it has a limited edition available. Okay, so we have this available at a limited edition. Yeah, that means you cannot access all the feature. You have to only access all. So you will only have access to few feature. But again, you will be accessing the 80% of the features in the free version. Okay. Now, no single tool can do everything, right? We have been discussing about a lot of stuff, right? So instead of kind of relying on one tools, right, we have a different part of the process, right? So first we'll be talking about fundamental framework, then we'll be talking about raw real-time engines, then we'll be talking about specialized database, and then we have this analytical platforms, right? Now to store the data, what are the different fundamental tools we have, right? Now for storing and processing at a very high scale, we have a database called Apache Hadoop. Now this Apache Hadoop is open source, right, to handle a big data. It allow you to process the large data by dividing the task to a mini computer. Again, as you know, let's say that when you try to run some specific uh, code, or like maybe some specific applications, right, in your systems, maybe let's consider that this applications for the video editing, right? Now for a simple computer this will be a huge, and it can even crash. Our simple computer cannot handle that software running on our systems. That means we have a limitations, right? Now similarly understand that this Apache Hadoop handles the various a huge data set, right? And now to handle those huge data set, right, not one computer is meaningful, or not one computer is kind of enough to use, right? So we use a multiple nodes, right? So we have a distributed data storage systems, right? So where instead of storing, so yeah, so instead of storing our information into a one node or into a one computer, we store it on a multiple computers. That is what the Apache Hadoop will help you to do. And it is, and the architecture of this Apache Hadoop is even kind of scalable. That means we can, let's say that if the number of, or like, yeah, so not number, but let's say that if your data gets increases, you can also add a more nodes, so that that can be easily handled. Again, it is also fault tolerance. When I'm talking about fault tolerance, so sometimes what happens is, let's say that we have the 20 nodes. Now one or two node might get replaced or might not work. So basically, so the data stored on those faulty nodes, right, will not be lost over here. So basically what it does is, it always store a copy of one node to a different node. So basically, even a machine fails, or one machine fails, we have a copy of the informations. So that is how a big data is being handled in the real world, right, using this kind of database. Now let's say that if you need a speed, right, for that we have a real-time data processing, right? You need a real-time data processing. That means for that we have a two type of database, Apache Storm and Apache Flink. Apache Storm is a distributed type of system. It is fault tolerance for the real-time computations, right? Again, I'm talking about real-time computations, right? You just want to get the data, and then you want to process that data, right? Let's say that when we talk about this machine learning system, right? So this machine learning system always try to convert, or like try to use that data to train the models, right? Now for that we use this Apache Storms, right? Now it processes a millions of events per second. Now the Apache Flink is again low latency streaming process. That means if your only goal is to stream the information, let's say that when we get like when we see the match, right? We all see the match, right? So whatever happened at the live, within a second, right, within a second we see that live in our system, because we have a low latency systems, right? So we do not have to wait, right, that what event had happened, right? So that is, so those kind of processing I'm talking about, right? So we use Apache Flink for that. Again, let's say that if you do not want to store just the tabular data, let's say that if you want to store or handle unstructured data like text data, like image data, right? Now for that, we need a NoSQL database. Now this NoSQL data, so there are two type of NoSQL database we have. One is Apache Cassandra, other one is CouchDB, right? Now this Apache Cassandra is very highly scalable database. Someone is, okay, do we have any query, all of you? Do we have any query? No query? Great. Yeah, so this Apache Cassandra is very highly scalable database, which is perfect for application where you do not want to lose any data, right? The primary benefit of this Apache Cassandra database is it is highly available, achieved by replicating a data across multiple data centers, right? So basically, again, I'll say that it try to make a copy of the data to the different data centers. Now, similarly, we have a CouchDB, which is again a reliable database which store the data, into a different format, right? So this CouchDB always stored the data into a JSON format. Now again, one of the primary benefit of the CouchDB is it is a offline first database. That means you do not need to be connected online all the time. Again, that's the reason we use this type of, or like this, the smartphone industry use this kind of network or this kind of database, right? In our mobile phone, maybe in your TV, maybe in your routers, right? So these are the edge devices or small devices uses this couch DB type of database, right? Now, let's say that if you do not want to kind of go inside this Apache Cassandra and Apache Storm or like all these things, right? Industry also have some ready to use platforms, right? Those platforms are Joho and Cloudera. Joho is self-serviced, right? And it is a very simple to use drag and drop facility we have, right? And because of this, it's like this most of the industry or most of the people, once they are into the ecosystem of Joho, they have started liking the Joho way of presenting or way of handling the data. Then again, we have the Cloudera. Now, the one of the key benefit of Cloudera is, let's say that you have already been storing your data to the multiple platforms, right? When I'm talking about when I'm talking about storing the data into the multiple platforms, right? So let's say that some information is being stored on the AWS, some information is being stored on a different cloud, right? So once, let's say that if you have like, let's say that if you have this multiple data stored at a multiple location and then you want to connect those data and then use it, for that you should use Cloudera. Again, I'm saying for the different perspective, for the different usage, we have a different solutions, right? So this was the big data. Now we will want to talk about data mining in more details, right? Now again, when we talk about the data mining, so the first thing is, what is data? We have all discussed. Data is all about any informations, like whether we have a sales data, whether we have a image data, whether we have a text data, right? So any raw fact or figures is considered as a data, right? And now, now if you have those data and if you are not using that data, so that data is meaningless, right? If you are not handling that data in a proper way, that data is just a mess. It is like it has no meaning, right? Now, so again, on its own, data is just the noise if you're not using it. So what is data mining? Data mining is all about discovering the meaningful patterns from the huge amount of data. That is what the data mining is. Let's say that if you have collected or if you have been collecting the data, maybe in a cloud, maybe in your own premises or somewhere else, right? But then you want to use it, then you want to process it. That is what the data mining is, right? And we also like, there is also this name as knowledge discovery from the data. We call this KDD, which is a different name for the data mining, right? So the goal of data mining is all about transforming the raw data or transforming the raw fact into a meaningful information. Using that, any businesses can used or any businesses can take better decisions. That is what the task of data mining is. Now, let me know if you have any query then. Please put in a chat if you have any query, all of you. Please put in a chat if you have any query. No query? That's great. Now, what are the blueprint of knowledge discovery from data? Again, the blueprint is very simple, but we use this. First, we need to collect the data. we need to collect the most informative, the most relevant data from our different databases for the businesses. Once we collect the data, we process the data. Processing means we clean the data, we transform the original form of data into a usable format, right? Or into a different format. That is what the data processing is, right? After we process the data, that means we are ready to use that data to apply the analytics. For that, we use a different algorithms based on what type of questions we have, or what kind of pattern, what kind of insights we want to find. That is what the applying technique means, right? Can you give a practical example of data transformations? Okay. So you are talking about the processing steps, right, Praveen? Yeah. So data transformation is okay. Consider that you have a loan, like consider that we have a data from a bank, right? Now, so wait a minute. Data. So what do you mean, Praveen? If you say not exactly, so can you just elaborate your questions? But data where it is required. Okay. Okay. Let me give you examples. Right. Let's say that you are working as a data analyst in a bank, right? And now let's say that you have a target now. The target is we all have a targets. Mostly in the bank or the insurance company, they have a targets to kind of sell a specific product, right? And now they want to sell a product like a FD, like a loans, or they want to give the loans and these kind of product, right? So first they will kind of collect the data, right? So they collect the data of all the customer who is likely to buy a FD, who is likely to buy a loans, right? Once we have, now we want to, like, again there will be some criteria that we want only to market this product for the people who is having age greater than 30 and less than 40. So what we'll do, we'll extract only those data from, like, whose age is less than like greater than 30 and less than 40, right? And then you want to filter out based on the income. After that you want to filter out based on the other criteria. That is what the pre-processing comes under, right? That is also a steps which comes under a pre-processing and filtering out. Okay. And after that we will apply a techniques. So we will kind of apply a technique. Let's say that if you want to understand a very prime customer, or after that if you want to understand a kind of a different executive type of person, so what you will do, you will kind of do some maybe you will do some data mining, right? So the data mining will help you to kind of gives you the this different groups of the data, and then you will kind of understand which group of data is what. That is what applying technique is, right? Once we apply the techniques, once we know that this customer is likely to be useful for this product, right? Now after that we evaluate our patterns, right? When we talk about we evaluate our patterns, that means we try to understand what type of information have been gotten from the data, and then after we deploy it. So when we talk about this deployment, that means we share that information into chart and graph. That is a simple blueprint of data mining and all these things. I hope, Praveen, this example was helpful to you, right? Now, for the data mining as well, we have a multiple tools. Like we have a classifications tool, we have a clustering tool, we have association tool, and then we have the predictions tool, right? So when we talk about classifications, that means we want to group the data into or we want to sort the data into a known groups. So when I'm talking the known groups, that means we already have a data whose age is greater than kind of 40, or between 30 and 40, or less than 30. So basically we have a three group of data. right? So once we have this known, and let's say that a new data will come up, and now we want to understand whether this data will go under criteria A or criteria B or criteria C, or group A, group B, and group C. That is what the classification is. Then we have the clustering data. So clustering is all about separating the data without knowing the groups, right? So we have a data, we have a huge group of data, but we do not have the specific group in a data. That is what the clustering is, right? Now we will be going faster mode because we have we have only very few times left, right? So now we have this associations method. Now this association is all about, let's say that when we, so again, this technique is all about if a specific person buy a product A, whether this person will buy a product B or not. So if a person go to the shopping market and then it buys a bread, whether it is able to, like, is it likely to buy a milk as well? So that is what the association means. And when we talk about this predicting, that means we want to predict what, based on whatever has happened in the past, what will happen in the future. So here we are trying to predict the future. That is what the prediction is, right? Again, here we have this multiple example for clustering and the classification. Again, one of the example of the clustering is, so not clustering, let's first discuss about the classification. So one of the example of the classification is, here let's say that we want to kind of classify whether a specific network is either normal or not. So basically we want to understand whether a kind of this network is coming from any fraud or not. That is one of the real world example we have. And let's talk about for the clustering. So again, as an example, I'll say that a bank will analyze the transaction data to identify a different groups of customer, like whether we have this loyal customer or not, or whether this group of data is a different type of data or not. So basically bank always use this clustering techniques to kind of separate their customers into a groups, right? Now let's talk about association. Again, here we just want to understand that the connection between the two product, right? If a person is buying a product A, whether he or she will be buying product B as well or not. Again, we use this technique mostly into the market basket analysis. So basically in the retail industry we use this technique where we want to where this retail industry want to understand where to put which item, right? So when you go to the shopping mart, you might have seen that there is a product layout, right? So maybe you will see that similar kind of product is being laying out together. That is what, that is what we find with based on the association technique. Then we have the predictions. Now for the predictions, let's say that we want to understand what will be the sales in the next year, or what will be the sales in the next quarter. That is what the prediction is, right? Now let's talk about data minings, right? So again, so yeah, so again, here we have this multiple examples. So again, let's see based on this industry about this data mining. So first we'll be talking about finance and insurance, right? So the challenge of the finance is we want to understand and block the fraud transactions, right? So all the bank want to understand whether this transaction is fraud or not. And before anything event or before any wrong happens, they want to block that transactions, right? So basically for that they use the anomaly detection technique, right? And this anomaly detection help them to understand whether the transaction is from the normal behavior or not, right? And then let's talk about the insurance. So one of the big challenge for the insurance company is, right, they want to market a new loan product, or they want to market a new product, right? And they do not even want to waste their resources. When I'm saying waste their resources, this means that I'm talking about they do not want to call multiple people. They only want to target a specific group of people, right? Now for that they analyze us customer transaction data to understand whether this customer is highly profitable, is highly interested in the loan or not, or highly interested in a specific product or not. So they use a transaction pattern to understand whether this people have more money or not, whether this people is saving a lot or not, whether this people is spending on what kind of product. You might have seen that you have this multiple credit card, right? And then this bank says that you can save fuel on the credit card, you can save, or you will get two movie ticket on the credit card and so on, right? So they just want to attract the customers, right? Now let's talk about retail and e-commerce. We have just discussed about the retail. That means we'll be talking about this market basket analysis. So one of the bigger challenge of the retail is they want to understand which product is being bought together frequently. That means, let's say that when you go to the shopping mart, what are the different things? Let's say that if you are buying a specific spices, are you buying a oil or not? Are you buying a bread or not? Are you buying, let's say that if you are buying a bread, are you buying a butter or not? So this kind of combination they try to find out. And once they find out the combination of this product, that means these two products, again, not just you, but they analyze their all customers, right? And based on their customer purchasing behavior or purchasing, I would say that this patterns, right? They use that data to kind of put things together so that customer do not have time to kind of think a lot about buying or like finding a lot about the product, right? Again, I'll say that, let's say that when you go or like when you go to into a shopping mall, let's say that if you have budget of 2000, you spend 3000, you always spend more when you go to the shopping mall. Why? Because the things have been put in, like they have put the things in a way that you will think that, let's say that you have made a list, and now when you go to the this D-Mart or like anything else, now you will know that, oh, this product was also missing, this product is also low, so basically you will spend more. So they want you to spend more, and for that they use this market basket analysis. Again, we have already discussed about the e-commerce, right? So let's talk about Amazon, right? So they want to give a unique experience to their to all their customers. So this is their big challenge. So let's say that again, let you can open up your I'll say that this Amazon website or like Amazon app or something like that, and then you will see that the product is being launched in your app, and the product is being launched in your other friend's app, right, will be different. So basically they will be showing the ad differently. Basically they want to give a personalized experience, right? And for that they do a massive data mining on the past purchasing behavior, right? And based on that they try to recommend the product, right? That is how our industry uses this data mining, right? And now we'll be talking about a different data architecture, right? Now, now to store the data, now we have discussed about a data, we have discussed about how to analyze the data, we have discussed about how to kind of how different industry uses the data, right? Then we have discussed about how data is being processed. We have discussed about how a data mining technique is being used into the multiple industry based on whatever their need. Now we will be discussing about how a data is being stored in a cloud, right? Without processing or before storing into your own hardware, right? So here, now to store a data, right? At what amount of the data we are storing, we have this three data layers. One is data lake, other one is data warehouse, and the other one is data mart, right? Now, when we talk about a data lake, so here in the data lake, we dump or we put every pieces of data without untouched, sorry, without any transformation. So we take the data in the same original form, we put the data into that data lake. So you can think of data lake is just like a small garbage. I will not say the garbage box, but in our home, everyone's home have one box or one container where we always put a kind of product or things in that container and we never use it. We forget it that we have these product as well, right? So again, like some people might have a kind of new homes or like old homes to kind of store all the older things, right? So data lake is very much similar to that. Once you open up the kind of box, or once you open up this old homes, right, and when you see each information, then you will see that I was looking for that product, but that product is over here, right? So it's like we always forget, right? So currently we think that this specific put type of information or this specific type of things is very much important to us, but currently we do not need it, so we put it in somewhere and we forget that. That is what the data lake is. That is how you can understand the data lake is, right? We put things and like we forget, right? Now, what is data warehouse? So from the box, like data warehouse is all about building. So you can think of as in building a library of categorized and verified books. So basically what we do, first we store the information into a data lake. Then we take each information from the data lake and then we put it into a designated sections, right? And then we label those sections. That is what the data warehouse is. That means here now we are segregating our informations into a different groups, right? Now what is data mart then? Now data mart is all about creating a specific section for the specific purpose, right? So once we have this data warehouse, we take the data from the data warehouse, right? And now we create a data mart, right? So again, we basically, this is very much smaller than the data warehouse, right? Where we only put the relevant information to access that type of information in an easy and the fast way, right? That is how we put data into the cloud, right? We have a three type of cloud architecture to put in. One is data lake, other one is data warehouse, other one is data mart. And I hope everyone have understood about these three things, right? Now, when we talk about a data lake, you can think of also as it is a vast reservoir, right? So it is a kind of centralized repository where we store all type of informations, right? Whether this information is structured, whether this is semi-structured, whether this is unstructured, right? Again, here, so basically this schema or this key principle of this data lake is, it's like we just store the data as it is, right? And we also have some primary benefit. That means we do not need to transform our data into a different data type. We just take the data raw and then we put it, right? Now it is also cost effective. So this type of data lake is very cheap, very inexpensive, right? So that we can store a huge amount of data, right? This type of data stores will be helpful for the various industry, like for the machine learning, like for building models, and like this kind of stuff, right? Now, when we talk about data warehouse, so data warehouse you can think of as it is a system like designed as a centralized repository where we take the data, convert the data into a one format, and then we store it. So the key principle of the data warehouse is we say that it is has like it has schema on write and it has this ETL process. That means we extract the data from the data lake, we transform it, and then we store it. That is what the data warehouse is, right? And again, it also has this four core characteristic. That means again here we are storing all the information at a specific sections, right? So for a different businesses we create a different data warehouse, right? Again, it is integrated, it is non-volatile. When I'm saying the non-volatile, this data stored is permanent, you can always access it, right? and you can also store a time series data over here, right? Now the next topic is we have this data mart, right? Now just now this data mart you can think of as it is a specialized subset of the data warehouse, right? Where we put the information or where we put only a specific type of information, right? So basically we take the data from the data warehouse and create one section for the specific use. That's it. So let's say that you have this data about HR, you have this data about finance, you have this data about sales. So what we do, we create a sales data separately, we create a sales data mart separately, we create the finance data mart separately, and so on, right? And one of the key benefit for this is it is faster. Basically it is easy to access. That means since this data store is very small in size, right, we can easily access it, right? And you can also give a specific access to the specific people. Like we create a data mart for the sales, so we give access to only sales people. So there are different usages we have in the industry, right? So now we have discussed about data lake, data warehouse, and data mart, right? And yeah, so here is a direct comparison we have, right? As you can see, so you can see from the cost size, right? So the cost of storing data is very lower. So cost of storing data lake is lower. Cost of storing data warehouse is a little higher, and the cost of data mart is a moderate. Why moderate? Because it is small in size, right? So the typical user for all these databases is also different. Like the data scientist, data engineer uses the data lake because they want to train the data. They want to use a huge amount of data, right? Now when you talk about this data warehouse, the people like business analysts, the people like decision maker have access to these informations. And when you talk about this data mart, so basically we give access to the departmental wise, right? And again, the main purpose of the data lake is using the raw data and use it for our specific purpose, right? So again, mostly we use this. So currently people are using this data lake to build AI ML models, right? And then this data warehouse has an enterprise wise reporting. That means basically if you want to make a decision and then you want to know what was sales, what was the, like how much this money was spent, and like if you want a global overview of your data, then you should have access to the data warehouse. And if you want to analyze the data into a departmental level, then you should have a data mart, right? So here is a full workaround. So let's say that, so basically first we have this data into a different sources. We take the data from the different sources in a different format. We pass those data or we put those data into the data lakes. So basically here in the data lake, every type of information at any type of structure is being stored. Now from the data lake, we convert our information into a specific structure, right? For that we use this ETL, and then we create a different sections into the data warehouse, right? Where we store this information into a one structure. And from the data warehouse, we create a data mart, right? So this data mart will be useful for a specific purpose, right? So this is how this is how we use the data, this is how we store the data into the cloud, and this is how people and industry using the data, right? And this is it. Again, all of you, please let me know if you have any query. Yeah, Kaggle is a data repository. It is a kind of, so again, not just a data repository. So again, it is just a very small fish into a data world. Kaggle is a very small fish. That means it only have a few informations, right? But yeah, we have this multiple reservoir where people uses or create a data lake to store a huge amount of data. Now, yeah, this is it about this big data and data analysis, right? So all of you, please let me know if you have any query related to anything, whatever we have discussed so far. Yes, all of you. Do we have any query? Please put in a chat. We have approximately 300 participants, right? I'm expecting at least few questions from all of you. Yes, all of you. Do we have any query? Yes, Dipti.
Yes, let's have some questions for Raj. If I say that, we are going to mark, your attendance will be marked basis your questions, I think then the questions will come.
Yeah.
Anju Singh is asking cluster evaluation metric.
Okay. So for clustering evaluations, right, we have a different techniques, right? So one of the technique is, again, I'll say that we kind of take or like make a cluster, right? So the best technique is we try to check each example from the cluster, and then we try to see whether this cluster made a proper format or not. So actually clustering have the various technique, right? So we have this k-means clustering, we have this db scan, like this algorithm, right? So the various algorithm have the various technique, right? So yeah, so again, not just one answer, but yeah, but let's say that if you are asking a one question or like one line answer, it's all about we always, after creating a cluster, like after creation of cluster, we always try to see or pick data inside each cluster. That is the best way people use in the industry. They do not rely on only mathematical type of evaluations, right? Any more query? The Sahaj is asking data mart is a distributed system. Yes, it is a cloud system. Yes, it is a cloud systems. So basically you do not have to kind of handle everything. Let's say that if you are using a AWS or if you are using this Google Cloud or anything, right? They help you to kind of create a data mart. Yes. Then we have a question from Kamal, difference in the storage design and efficiency between these systems. Okay. When we talk about efficiency, okay, so basically data lake is the lower efficiency, data warehouse is a moderate, and the data mart is highly efficient, right? And when you talk about the storage designs, basically these industry do not reveal the storage design of all these three, because as I have said, right, people or like we have these concepts coming from the cloud, right? So yeah, but again, when we talk about this design, so for the data lake there is no specific design, but for the data mart we have a specific format. So basically we store the data in only one format, right, which is understandable, and then we have the data mart. Okay. Any query, all of you? Apart from this, do we have any query? Okay. Patil is asking any website where you can donate our collected data who give us credit, popularity, or badge or anything. Okay, for academic, I will say that there are kind of data repository kind of stuff, but you can also put in a Kaggle, right? So you can put your data into a Kaggle. Okay.
Right. So I think we are
Yeah.
almost on time. So I will say just thank you, Raj, for taking
Mhm.
that session, and thank you all the faculty members. Please continue to engage. We have another very interesting session. I'm very happy to say that Smita has joined us. She is joining us from Chennai, and she has been her sessions have been very very interactive and interesting. So I'll just hand it over to Smita for her session, and Smita, you may just introduce yourself and take it forward.
Thank you. Thank you, Raj. Even I
Yeah.
understood
Yeah.
data mart, warehouse, and lake. So,
Yes, yes, same here. I also got clarity with this.
Okay. Yeah. This is kind of, yeah. So yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So have a great day. Bye
yeah.
bye.
Thank you, Raj.
Yeah.
We'll be in
Bye
touch.
bye.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Bye.
Yeah. Okay. So I've, yeah, I'll go ahead. Kamna? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So thank you, first of all.
Just for your, sorry, before you start, I just wanted to tell you that this cohort we have almost 800 registrations we had this time, and almost 350 members have been joining daily.
Every session. Okay.
Yes,
Very
yes, yes.
good.
So I'll just put another message in the group to join. I'm sure more people will join in. I'll just do that. Yeah, please go
Sure,
ahead.
sure. Okay. Okay. So thank you, all of you. You made time to join the session. Right. So, first of all, 5 days consecutive, 3 hours of back to back sessions. I'm sure it's giving you a feel of student life, right? What your students are going through. So that's a very good context in which this session is being scheduled. Now, this is about problem solving. What is this session about? Anybody can tell me what the title of the session was? And after that, I'll tell you what my name is and who I am. Anybody session name? PDC. Okay. Yeah. Some letters are there. Okay. Okay, so this is problem solving and some of the problem solving techniques like PDSA, right? That we are going to see in this session. But before that, I'm also going to talk about something which is very, very interesting in today's world with respect to problems and the way we have to solve them and why we even need this session. Okay. So in the first 5 to 10 minutes, let's decide if we have to have the session. If yes, all of you stay. Otherwise, we say bye bye and go. Okay. I am from Kerala, currently settled in Chennai. I did my engineering in electronics and communication, and I worked in Wipro in software for 28 years, and then with Future Skills Prime team for 2 years. And I was looking at how do we make India digitally skilled. So I used to be on Kamna's side conducting some of these sessions for working professionals. And last almost 2.5 years, I'm on my own and I'm trying to create tools which will help teachers have better engagement in class. So that's what I do. I also do consulting for GCCs in setting up delivery centers in India. So I've been in core software delivery all through and innovation and some experience in managing the L&D platform in Wipro. So that's about me. So why do we even need a problem solving session? We all have problems in life, don't we? I know you all are doing something else also. You're listening here partially, but then I want you to at least have give me some responses in chat. Okay, yeah, we all have problems in life, and don't we solve them? We all solve them also. Right? Then why are we talking about problem solving as a session and what are we trying to do and all? Why do we even need a session? What is happening that we have to have a session like this? Okay, we solve them, you all of you solve the problems. But there is only one thing, problems are becoming complex, right? There are complicated problems, there are complex problems. I'll give you two examples. Okay. Let's say you have to solve a problem for sure for your, let's just assume you are a student in your final year, and as part of your course requirement, you have to solve one problem. I'm giving you two problems, you have to pick one of them. One problem is a 10,000 piece puzzle. Okay, a 10,000 piece puzzle. The problem that's given to you is that puzzle, you will need to tell a time and you have to fix it in that time. Okay, you can say 2 hours also, but then in 2 hours you should be able to fix that puzzle. You have to put all the pieces together. That's one problem. There is a puzzle, 10,000 pieces. You have to give a time, estimate a time, and stick to that time in which you will solve that puzzle. That's problem number one. Problem number two, there is a 2 by 2 table. you should be able to, somebody will put an ant on one side of the table. You have to guide that ant without touching it to the other corner of the, diagonally to the other corner of the table. That also you should be able to, you should estimate a time and tell, oh, I will do this in 2 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever time you estimate, you should be able to do it within that time. So these are the two problems that you have. Which problem will you pick? Can I have yes of everybody who says they will pick the puzzle problem? You just type puzzle or you write and. Puzzle, okay, and we have more people doing puzzles and and puzzle, puzzle, puzzle. And now to everybody who said puzzle, tell me why. Why did you pick the puzzle? It's easy. 10,000 piece, Dr. Ramchandran. Brain exercise, more time. No, that 2 hours is, I mean, you can just tell what the time is. You like to solve complex problems. That's why you have, you pick the puzzle. Simple and easy. Puzzle is for fun, maybe more mathematical. Okay. Okay. Somebody who said and, can you please tell why? The ant people, please tell why. Is it easy? How many of you think ant is easy? Ant is more challenging. Okay. Ant is not easy. Now you got it. That is the reason. Okay. So the puzzle, that's a complicated problem. A complicated problem is, it's like what happens in our house or in your bag, right? When you have a earphone, when you have a charger wire, when you have, I mean, if you're like me, you have this wires for your specs, then that everything together, it'll become one blob. When you take out, you have to patiently sit and take it out. But you know that there is a solution. You know that it's just taking time to do it, right? Those are complicated problems. What are complex challenges? Complex challenges are where you don't have an idea what the solution looks like. You don't have a path to the solution. You don't have, maybe you have some precedents, but then you're not sure whether it's going to work or not. So when you have more complex challenges, when you have, in other words, when you have living beings involved in your problem, it is complex and you will need to know some structured methods to solve them so that you can solve them faster. So far, probably a lot of problems that we were encountering were problems um, I mean, not necessarily human beings, but related to infrastructure or any other non-living things. Those problems are easier to solve. You solve it and it stays that way. It's not unpredictable. The moment you have living beings, it becomes probabilistic. It's not deterministic. And that's where the new complexity comes in, which is artificial intelligence. So now that all of you understand why we need to learn structured problem solving models, so we are going to have the session. I'm sorry, folks, next almost 1 hour and 10 minutes at least, you're going to listen to me because we are going to see what are the structured ways to solve problems. We are all smart people because out of around 800 people, 300 of you have been joining these sessions very diligently because you understand that this is an important initiative, right? You understand that things are changing and you need to be on the, you can't do a catch up game here. Already we are actually, I would say we are catching up if you haven't been on top of some of these technologies and some of these changes and innovations that are happening. So at least now you're spending time on it. Very good. So you're all smart people. Why are we struggling with problems? So let's take an example of a brilliant professor, somebody like you, who's very, very interested in making sure that the students are able to understand what they are teaching and they are engaged and they just don't pass the paper, but they also understand everything. So the students are like, oh no, we don't understand. It's not fun. So students are giving some feedback. Based on that, the professor is revamping everything. The next semester, again, nothing is improved. The complaints, the words have changed in the feedback, but then there is no outcome. Right? So what happens? Probably the professor assumed a problem based on student feedback and solved it. So they did it, they did a brilliant job of solving problem, but probably the problem was wrong. So the first step in problem solving is identifying the right problem, right? So many of these things we intuitively think that we know. Oh, we've seen this before, this is how it is. But then a lot of things have changed. The parameters have changed. There are many parameters that have got added to this equation, and we don't understand all of them because we are not in that context anymore of the people to whom we are solving the problem, right? So when our intuition fails, we need to have some way of breaking this down so that problem solving is more effective. Okay, so we are used to, I mean, in a lot of ways, our brains are still a cave woman's brain, right? We see a problem, we solve it, we see it's solved, and we feel happy about it. But then a lot of problems that we face today are not like that. They are all long term. All the smaller problem, all the easy ones we have solved. Now we are left with the ones which are really tough, or we are unearthing such problems today. Okay, and the feedback also, probably you're not going to get a feedback right then and there. It's going to take time, right? So that is why we need to find out how do we get to what kind of complex problems, how do you identify them, and then we will look at how to solve them also. So simple problem, fire, you know what to do. If you are in a place where there's water, you put water. If the fire is in a oil, then you put mud on it. Okay, so you have there's X, then there is a Y. So those are simple problems, you just have to execute them. But whereas complex problem, the solution itself may be unclear. So this is the crux of this entire session, and we are going to just see how do we deal with them. So what do formal methods, what we're going to learn, what are you going to learn at the end of it? You're going to see problems clearly, right? You may be seeing symptoms, you may be seeing some part of it. How do you formulate your problems? Then how do you solve the problems that you need to solve, that you can solve, right? So maybe there are some problems which you just say that, okay, this is a constraint, I will work around it, I'm not going to solve this problem. Then when you decide that, okay, I have the right problem, I am going to solve it, then you need to know which tool to pick. So everything is not a nail just because you have a hammer. Oh, you learned PDSA. Oh, because of that, no, no, no. Sorry, it's not everything. You cannot use those methods. Oh, I know 5i. Everywhere I'll use 5i. No, it doesn't work that way. So we're going to see where we can use what kind of a tool. And if I don't talk about artificial intelligence, you will say that this session is from last century. So we will also see how you can use AI to amplify, I mean, basically help you with all these things. So you will recognize when formal methods are needed. There will be some fire kind of problems in your life. You don't need to do any of these sessions. I mean, any of these things that you're learning here. You just solve it. But you will know when to use them. Distinguish the problems from symptoms. So basically, how to define your problems. You will learn that. And when and which problem to solve. And we will also see human-centered problem and what kind of opportunities arise out of it. Any questions at this point of time? Are we game? For the next 1 hour, we're going to see how this works, and then we will see some practical problems and solve them. Does that sound good? Okay, good. Okay. So what are we going to see? We're going to see plan, do, study, act, one of those tools, 5I methods. Then we'll do flowcharts, mind maps, and we'll see where they're going, where we need to use them. So these are not just tools. That's why the session is named probably with some tools, but then it's not just about learning those tools. It's about how to use, when to use, and when not to use, more importantly. Right? So, and it is a thinking. So right now you're going to say that, I mean, when you see a problem, you will pause a minute before solving it. That is the thing. If you are doing by the end of this session is a success. Okay. So what is the trap that we get into? The language of problems. Okay. Most problems are defined as projective. Okay. Some of the example is we need to improve student engagement. I have to improve placement percentage. I have to improve pass percentage. I have to improve the number of um, patents, projects, right? So these are all things that we say are problems in our life. Can you think of a problem in your mind? Okay, and we'll see how to get to it. So all through the session, it will be good if you have one or two problems that you are struggling to solve, or you have solved it and it still doesn't look good. Okay, so keep one of those one or two problems in mind. And in this, what's happening is the problem is hidden. We need to improve student engagement. We just know that there seems to be there's something called student engagement. We have to improve it. We don't know where it is, where we need to take it. Nothing is there. Even if there were numbers, it's like we are just assuming that improving the student engagement will solve something else, because student engagement is not the problem, right? We are just telling that we need to improve student engagement. So let's say, how do you, so these are called projectives. Okay. So how do you transform projectives into problems? The way you will do it is you have to have, let's see some examples. Students don't pay attention. How do you make it into a problem? 60% of the students are on phones within the first 15 minutes in the class. Now, that is something which we can address scientifically, right? We need better infrastructure. How about we reframe it as lab equipment fails 3 times a week? There are 2 hour delays once something fails for us to get it back up and running. Research output is low. Faculty is publishing 40% fewer papers than peers and other institutions. Right? So you get the gist. How does it, we will see what the structure of a problem statement is. But what we shouldn't be having in a problem statement: improve, enhance, optimize, better. These all assume that we know something, right? We know something, but in most often we may not be knowing what the actual problem is. These are all masking the real problem from our I mean, or we get biased when you see a problem statement like that itself. And again, some of these universal words like always, never, everyone, these look like, okay, we can never solve any of these problems, right? The moment you make it very, very specific, it becomes easy for us to solve. How do you craft a clean problem statement? There has to be a specific observation, there has to be a measurable impact, and then you minus the implied solution. At the time you're crafting a problem statement, please don't think of a solution. You just tell what the problem is. So, for example, assignment submission rates drops from 95 to 60 after the mid-semester break. This is affecting 12 courses. Now you know what to solve, right? Otherwise, if we say this can also be told as students' interest in the course drops after they come back from mid-semester break. Now, that's something which you don't know why the interest fails. I mean, if you use any of these tools, you will go into a wild goose chase. So, defining a better problem is the first step in solving a problem. Okay, so symptoms that define problems, then you identify the root causes. Okay, so now a quick exercise. I'm going to give you 30 seconds to 1 minute. Think of a problem that you're facing. Okay, I see I mean, if you're facing any problem, you don't have to share it. Just think about it and say, are you having a projective or a problem? Can you replace it as a problem statement? So, what is the structure of a problem? A specific observation, a measurable impact. Don't assume a solution. That's how the problem should look like. It has to be specific. There should be something which can be measured, and you should not assume a impact. I mean, a solution. Okay. So now, so if you have a problem and you think that it is projective and you're struggling to make it into a problem definition, use this prompt. And you can, I'll share this with Kamna so that, I mean, whatever is the method of sharing this. So this PPT I'll be sharing, so you can use this. You don't have to note, or better still, take a photo of it. Right. So you give this as a prompt with your problem statement. Any of the agents, ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude, whichever you're using, or Perplexity, it'll help you make it into a problem statement. Okay. Now that you have a problem statement, we'll have to see, should you be solving it and how should you be solving it? Okay. So this is something which I'm sure all of you will be able to appreciate. So we don't like certain things that are happening, maybe in your institution, maybe in the university, maybe in the way it's run in the state, or the way India runs it. Right? You have so many issues in the way. Some things that affect us directly and affect the output. We don't like many of them. So what do? We fight. Some of them fight. Some of us say, okay, that is how it is, and we just give up. Some of us do some workaround and do something, right? So if somebody is fighting, oh, this is, I don't like it, I don't think this is the right way of doing it, and you're trying to struggle with your institution management or your university, saying, oh, this is not how it is done. You have hundreds of exchanges, meetings, any way of influencing everything, nothing happens. So what happens? You feel highly productive because you're doing something every day to this problem, but ineffective. You're not going to solve the problem. Why? Have you heard of this circle of control, influence, and concern? So I'm just trying to bring that into problem solving. So circle of control is where you can directly change. It's about you, what you do, right? Your time, the way you are taking class, the way you are interacting with people, the way you respond to things, the way you learn things, the way you adapt to situations, everything which is in your control, which you do. Influence is what you can affect through others. It could be your peers, your students, your family, your immediate department mates, or anybody whom you have an influence on, right? Or they might listen if you tell it the right way. The concern is the rest of the world, right? So if you have to put it in a picture, the circle of control, there is then there are things around the circle of influence, and then circle of concern, which is also called rest of the world. Now, the university, I don't like the way exams are conducted, is a rest of the world problem, right? It is very difficult for you to solve problems in that area. What you can do, try to find a solution which is in your circle of control. Your problem can be anywhere, but try and make it into a circle of control problem definition. We just learned how to make the problem definition. So can you make the problem definition to something which is in your circle of control? Then you can see how you can solve it, right? So try and solve problems in the circle of control, or bring down a larger problem into the circle of control so that you can solve it. So where exactly are you going to, problem might be in the concern, but the solution can be in the control region. So when you start complaining and then fighting with the university, maybe you're actually trying to solve something in the influence or rest of the world area, whereas the smarter move will be to solve it in the control. Right? So that is so. Once you have defined a problem, now see if the problem definition is something which can be solved in your circle of control. That's the second thing to do. And once then you decide that, okay, this looks like something which I can I can solve in my circle of control. Then you look at the rest of everything that you do for how to solve a problem. So can you take maybe a minute and think of problems that are in your circle of, concern? How can you make it into circle of control? What is your tools? How do you define a problem? Make it specific. So make it into your circle of control and have some measure and don't assume solutions. Okay. So these are some examples. I'm going to leave this slide for a minute for you to read. How many of you would want me to read it out if you're not seeing the slide as such? So in most cases, you should be able to reframe the problem and find a lever which is in the circle of control. Because that's where we need to spend maximum effort in. Why? Because you're all smart people, right? Make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens. Right? So the interesting thing is once you start doing things in your circle of control, you will see that it's not as small as what you think. But you have to look for things that you can do in the circle of control, and you'll see that the circle of control is becoming bigger. And your circle of influence will also become bigger once you start solving it. Okay. So where is the problem? Yeah, we did this. I'm assuming you all did it. The problem that you were thinking, which circle is the problem in? Where can you bring the lever to your circle of control? I see something which Sahaj has asked. Support is more required. Am I right? I don't understand. Can you elaborate on it? Write more about it, Sahaj, so that I can do something about it. See, this is I'm trying to make a problem into trying to define a problem, right? So Sahaj has asked a question. I don't have any idea what they mean when they have written that. So I'm trying to find more information on that. Higher authority support is required. Now, that is what kind of a problem is it? Is it a projective or a problem? You're saying something is required, which means you have to just ask for it. It's not a problem at all. It's not a problem. It is written as a projective. What happens because what is happening now for which you're thinking higher authority support is required? What is it that you can observe? Specific observations. That is what is the problem. Higher authority support is required is a projective. How many of you agree? It's not a problem, it's a projective. Do you get that? The difference between projective and problem? It's a projective. Okay. So to make it into a problem, you need to know what happens. Okay. So I'm just trying to think what could be a problem where if higher authority support is not there, students are not, you're not having enough, there are not enough computers, there are not enough resources available. You are drowning in administrative task. You don't have time to do research. Okay, so Sahaj, you are asking a very fundamental question. Projective, and what is the difference between projective and problem? So I am going to take you back to a slide where we spoke about it. These are projectives, and I've written how it can be made into a problem. A projective is typically hinting at a solution and it will be little vague. Higher authority support is required. What support is required? You making it's not very concrete. How do you make it into a problem? So the way to make it into a problem is you have a specific observation, then you talk about a measurable impact, don't imply solution, then it becomes a problem. Okay. What resource is required? So it has to be specific, Sahaj. That's how. So you are in the right direction. So by end of the session, I hope you'll be able to come up with a good problem statement as well as a way to solve it. Okay, now the next thing is most of your problems, you may be solving it for another user. How many of you have done courses on design thinking? I mean, at least sessions on design thinking, or you've heard about design thinking? How many of you have heard about design thinking? I'm sure many of you, yeah. So there's somebody who has heard about it. Someone who has, someone who have attended sessions. So most of design thinking is where you're trying to design solutions for someone else, right? You're not solving it for yourself, you're solving it for someone else. So in many of your problems, you may be solving it for maybe your students, maybe for your department, right? I mean, you're solving it for someone else. It's not your problem that you're solving. If it is your problem, it's again easier to solve it. Now you're solving it for somebody else. So you have to assume, or you're solving it where someone else is involved. So you have to make a lot of assumptions, right? So that's the area of design thinking. Okay, so if any of you have had attended courses on design thinking, you've heard about it, you might find some similarities. So I'm just trying to draw some parallels here. Okay, so the empathy gap, you're not your user. Okay, so the way to probably make you come to a class is very different from the way we have to employ to get your students to a class like this. 5 days back to back, after a full day of work, evening 6 to 9, you have to come and sit. The messaging that we give to a faculty is going to be very different from something we will give it to a student, right? Because the mindset is different, the context is different, what you will gain out of it is different, your way of understanding is different. So that one kind of a solution, the way we solve it, may not work for the student, right? So that's the first thing we need to understand. So when you have to solve a problem, first look at, have I defined it correctly? Is it a projective or a problem? At the end of the session, I don't want anybody to come and ask me, what is the difference between a projective and a problem? Okay. If you ask me, I will ask one of you to explain. Okay. So is it a projective or a problem? That's the first thing. Second thing, how am I going to solve it? Am I going to, what is the where is the problem situated? Where is the solution? Looks like it is situating. Solution always has to be in your circle of control, or it can be in little bit in your circle of influence also. The problem you have to bring it down to that level so that you can solve it, right? And then you look at who are the actors, right? So there's something called the curse of knowledge. Okay, if you can Google it, it's a very interesting phrase, mostly related to people like you and me because we think we are experts. I mean, when I say I have 30 years of experience in IT, I'm like, oh, yeah, I can understand. I assume that I know a lot of things. And that's the same thing when you, as an expert in your subject, when you're dealing with something, you are seeing it from that expertise, right? So sometimes you will not be able to understand a beginner what they are going through, right? So that becomes the problem in you not getting the right solution. So let's take an example. A professor figures out that the class is not understanding the concepts very well. So they create a comprehensive study guide. Okay, everything is neatly like the along with the classes, they are also offering a study guide saying you can go through this study guide so that it will make it easier. You know, the students are already drowning in a lot of information, the textbook or all types of information that is available. Nobody is opening the study guide itself. They are looking at YouTube or they are using ChatGPT where they get instant information, right? The problem here is the professor was seeing it from his perspective, the way he would or they would learn the topic or the ideal way of learning the topic, right? That's not the way the students learn nowadays. So although the professor will try to solve the problem, genuine interest, they spend a lot of effort, create everything, may not be useful for the student. So we will have to see it from the person's point of view. Okay, so this is an example of how we forget the empathy part, right? How we forget that the problem we are solving is not for people like us. Okay, so fundamentals of human-centered design. Anywhere where you have human beings, which is most of the problems that we are solving, may have human beings. What do? That 5 minutes is for me to say that I should not take. I mean, this is in itself a 1 hour session. We can go on for 1 hour, but then I just want to make sure that I don't take more than 5 minutes in covering this slide. So the first thing you do is observe before assuming. So when you're don't make because somebody came and told you something, don't write that as your problem statement. You have to actually see what is happening. When somebody says, I'm not able to do this lab project, at least 1 or 2 times you go and sit with them and see what exactly is happening. What are they doing? You might be able to solve the problem then and there itself. The lot of information loss happens when you hear it from another person, right? So it is very difficult when you are not in the place of action. When you are in the place of action, it is easier to solve the problem. So at least maybe you're not in the place of action, but at least see others in the place of action, right? So that's the first thing. The second thing, don't ask them, what do you want? Ask them, what is a pain? People are so excited about defining what is painful. What are your, where are you having struggles? It's an easy problem to, is an easy thing to articulate than saying, what do you want? What do you want? People often get stuck because they themselves don't know what they want. And what do you want is more like a solution, right? So just imagine, I'm assuming all of you are at least 10, 15 years of experience, right? Probably 15 years back, if somebody comes and asks you in urban or in commuting, what is the biggest problem that you have? right? If you are from a urban background, you're going to tell, and from some of these cities where we have rogue auto walas, you're going to tell the autos, they will ask whatever price they want. It is such a big struggle to find the right price for going from one place to the other. I'm not sure if I will get a vehicle. If I have to book a cab, I have to think before. I cannot get it on demand, right? So the maximum we would have said is, okay, I should be able to find if there are there should be a place where I can find if there are cabs, autos, and they should come in. Maybe standard rate card should be there from going from here to there. That's all you would have imagined. You wouldn't have said that, oh, I should be able to sit in my wherever I am and look at my phone and see how many autos are there around me and book something, and then the person comes and picks you up from the place where you are and you pay digitally and walk out without having any exchange with that person or anything, right? So without no haggling, nothing. We wouldn't have had a Uber if people who built Uber had asked us, what do you want? Because we would have said something totally different, right? They should have asked us, what is our problem? Then we would have told all the problems that we have, right? So instead of asking, what do you want? It's better to ask, what is paining, right? What frustrates you? So this is the way to get better problems. And then you can, better problems means better solutions. And the third thing is always do simpler, smaller prototype. If you're trying to find a solution for a set of students, try it out with, there are these N2 students. Try it out with them first and then try it out with the larger population. If you're trying to do something for all the classes that you're teaching, try it with one class, one set of students, and then see if it works and then move it to the next set of classes. Right? So iterate quickly. So these are the three main tenets that we use when we have to solve a problem. So one is about defining the problem, the better problem, better solution. Yeah, exactly. So if you're able to define it well, so again, goes back to don't have objectives, have problems defined, right? And then think from their perspective, ask the right questions, and then prototype small and fail fast so that you can try out multiple ideas. Okay, so before you come up with any solution, before you roll that out, think about, what am I assuming here for this solution to work? Oh, I'm going to send an email to all the students to tell them that there is an exam tomorrow. Before exams, we see that the students are underprepared for exams. We are going to send them an email with the exam timetable. People don't read emails, especially students, right? So what is the other way of letting them know? So before implementing solutions, think about what are the assumptions that you have. Right? If you don't have that, what happens? Your solution will be fragile. Means it'll just fall flat. Okay, so where are we now? We've seen how to write better problems, specific observations, some measurable impacts, don't assume solutions. Then see if the problem is in the circle of concern, influence, control. Try and get a solution in your circle of control. How do you do that? By making the problem more specific. And if there are other human beings involved, you try and see how they are doing, what are they struggling with. You see it yourself. Second, if you cannot see it yourself, at least talk to them and understand by asking right questions. Don't ask them what do you want, because that is making them solve it for themselves, which they are definitely not able to do. Right? So, what is your AI thinking partner? So you can get user perspectives. Right? So you can tell the solution and say, okay, this is how I'm going to build a solution. How can you, what are the poke holes in the solution? So this is one way of iterating it before you even launch it, right? One way you can. This is less costly. The easier you identify all the problems, the faster, the easier or the cheaper it is to fix them. Okay. Okay. Now choosing the right approach. Okay. So this is again one way of thinking, right? So problem is known, solution is known. What should you do? Just go ahead and execute it. What are you waiting for? No need to use PDSA or 5I or anything like that. You know the problem, you know what to do. Just go ahead, execute it. You know the problem, which means the problem is well defined. You don't know the solution. Then there are tools which will help you come to some kind of solutions. Now there are problem is unknown, but you have a solution, which is somebody else has done something. Every other college in my city is using this. I also want to do it, which means you have a solution, but you don't even know whether that solution is going to work in your case because you don't know the specific problem that is happening in your institute or in your class, or a peer teacher has done it and it works well. I want to do it. Now, here again, unless and until you're clear about whether that problem exists in that form in your class, that solution may not work. You will have to change that solution to some bit. So that's the third type of thing. The fourth type is these motherhood statements. We'll have to improve. We don't know what to do. We don't know what the problem is. We don't know what the solution is. But then this is not enough. That much we know. Right? Typically, the senior management or the college management and all, leadership typically pushes us to such problem solvings where we don't know what the problem is also, we don't know the solution also, but we are supposed to do something. So we'll also see what to do in such situations. So the first one, solution exists, it works. There is no problem solving in this because it is already solved. So it is implementation. What do you do? What are the tools that you will do? You'll have standard operating procedures. You'll have checklist. You will have standards defined, saying, oh, you will have rules, policies, right? Those are the tools for you. What is the danger in this case? Treating everything as I know the problem, I know the solution also, I'm going to execute it. You will fall flat in most cases because most probably your problem is not defined correctly. You are not the person whom you are solving the problem for. So most of the things, this is very rare that you have this quadrant one problems and solutions. If they are there, I don't think you will even consider them as problems. You would have already be executing it. Quadrant two is where the problem is clear. We have defined it well, but we don't have any idea how this is happening, why this is happening, and how will this fix. Right? So this is the real problem solving, where you know that there is a problem and you're trying to solve it. That's where many of the tools that are there in the topic of this session comes in. Right? The 5I, the PDSA, the root cause, all these things come in this area. Now, this will lead us to somewhere in the solution area. Right? So assignment submissions drop 40%. I mean, we saw this statement sometime back, right? Now, this is a problem, but we don't have any idea why suddenly the interest is dropping for people. Why are they not submitting it? What's happening? Is it because the assignments are becoming tough? Is it because the people are not having interest? Or is it because some other activities are happening? There is a school festival that is happening. There is a hackathon that's happening, because of which the focus has changed. We don't have any idea. So that's where you will do 5I, PDSA, etc. So how do you do 5Is? You ask why to the problem statement. Students don't ask questions in class. Why? They are afraid of looking stupid. Why? Other students laugh at basic questions. Why? Class culture rewards showing off, not learning. Why? I may be acknowledging only smart questions. I may be ridiculing stupid questions. So maybe. So is there something that I can do? So this is where the solution comes into your circle of control. It's not that all the time the solution has to be in your circle of control. You start there and then you will be able to get the solution to the circle of influence, and if you're lucky, even to the rest of the world. But it has to start with circle of control, right? So the way you ask why is try and keep it in that circle of control, kind of that area, because otherwise 5i is like it depends on the answer. They are afraid of looking stupid. Why are they afraid of looking stupid? Then the entire thing, they are afraid of looking stupid because stupidity is not rewarded anywhere. Now, why is stupidity not rewarded? It'll go off into some other direction, right? We cannot solve it if that is the case. That's why the specificity is important when you're giving answers to this. And so when you do a PDSA, again, this is something like what we saw in the human-centered design also, right? Iterate and get feedback faster. So you plan your solution, you do it, which means you're testing it with a set of people or one particular situation or a limited control group, and then you study what happened and then you scale and adjust. This is common sense, but what happens is when you are in the midst of problem solving, you forget that you have to do study and go back to it. You just want magically for it to work. So it doesn't work everywhere. It is plan, do, study, and act. If you ask Kamna, she's going to tell this is the 10th set of session she's doing, looks like. So every session, there'll be some
Correct.
learning that she has got, and she'll be acting on it. So that's why there are 800 registrations and 300 attendees in this session, because she is not like, okay, I will do an announcement and everything will happen. So anything that you do, there is this iteration will happen. Okay. Now, if we are in the quadrant 3, where you have some solution, this is typically the case where you'll be forced to do some best practices. Oh, no, that worked there. Why don't you do it? Oh, this is how it is done. Or there is a direction from the top that this has to be done. Right? So you have a lot of solutions. But where can you apply it? Which means you will have to find a set of people who have that problem. Right? So what do? You do user research. You'll do journey mapping. You will see, okay, where is the solution fitting in? In what student journey or what faculty journey? How is this fitting in? And then you see, okay, will the solution come here? Is this a thing that is going to work in our case? Right? Let's add online resources. This is something which is very typical. No, we'll have Coursera, Udemy, or even Future Skill Prime. We'll add all those things, but are people going to learn it? We don't have any idea. What do they really need, and how do we make them use it? Is something which is also part of the solution. So a solution that worked somewhere else may not work here unless and until you have your specific problem defined. Okay. So you will have to validate the problem before implementing. And this is also a place where there are human beings involved. So something that worked somewhere else may not work here unless and until you're very clear of who your audience are and what they are thinking of, what their specific problems are. Okay, so how are you all doing? Are we good? We started from projective. Projective is the wrong way of defining problems. How do you do the right way of defining problems? By having specific observations. You have something which is measurable and you don't assume any solution in the problem statement. That's a good problem. Once you have a good problem statement, you see if you really have to solve the problem. Some problems you don't solve it at the concern level or influence level. You bring it down to circle of control and then you solve it. Once you know that you have to solve a problem, then you look at who am I solving the problem for? What is their context? Understand them better. The design thinking one, human centered design, and all those things, right? And then you see what are the tools, which kind of a problem situation am I in? Am I in quadrant 1, 2, 3? What can I do? Right? So that's what we covered so far. Now, the quadrant 4. Nobody knows what to do, but then we know that there are problems. Right now, we know as a country, we know that there are problems. Our educated engineers are not getting jobs are not getting filled. We know, but we don't know the exact problem. We are not able to define it the way I said a problem has to be defined. Right? We don't have we don't have specific observations. We don't have anything, any baseline or anything to say that, oh, this is how it has to happen. No, it's very, very complicated. And we don't know what the solution is also. We may have something, somewhere, something worked, but then we don't know what it can be. Right? In these cases, what do you do? So these are not like problem solving tools. These are just to give us ideas. Right? Mind maps. How many of you use mind maps? Have you heard about mind maps? Mind map is where when you go from a central idea, you try and expand it in different directions, right? Especially in today's problem solving, there are no like today the world hunger problem is not an agriculture problem. There is economics in it. There is a geopolitical situation in it. There is environmental control in it, right? So many things are there for solving a thing like hunger in a country or a place, right? So there are different angles, there are different point of views, there are different viewpoints, aspects from which you can see a situation or a problem. So mind maps help us. Where have they used? Used in course. Okay, very good. So if you've used mind maps, you can do mind maps when you have to explore in such cases. My students are not getting placed. Now you start with that as the core area and then you consider multiple angle elements that will impact it. And somewhere you'll be able to find there is a gap. And then you see if you can define a problem there, and then you see if you can find a solution for that. Right? Yeah, a better one is how do we prepare students for AI? How do we prepare ourselves for AI? We don't have any idea. But we can at least say, okay, AI, what will happen? The traditional jobs will get impacted. New things will come. So we need to learn more. People should be able to handle change fast. They should be able to handle failures fast. We know many things. So how do we find out a problem that we can solve? And then you solve it. So this is the place where some innovation can happen. So when you are in quadrant 4, when you don't have anything, from there you go to Q2 because you have a problem, defined a problem, and then you find a solution for it. Or you go to Q3 because somewhere you found that, okay, there is a gap and somewhere there is a solution. So you have a solution, then you come back and define a problem. So from Q4, you either go to Q2 and then Q1 or you Q3 and Q1. Q1 is where you know problem and solution are clear and you just have to execute it. Okay. Okay. I forgot I had a slide like this. So mind maps is where you will explore. It's a open thinking space, right? More like brainstorming and how do you capture it? There is a central concept and then you branch out and sub branches. Okay. They are thinking tools and they will help you see if there are gaps. Flowcharts are something which is easier. Flowcharts, you're just writing what is existing, right? You just map. We may think that we know what exactly happens, but maybe people are taking shortcuts, maybe people are not doing it the way it is supposed to be done. So, map what is happening today. You may be able to find gaps, problems, and then you may be able to solve them. Right? Yeah. It's a graphical representation, but it is also about listing down everything. Right? So, it's not that you have to use the graphical representation of a flowchart, but then writing it down and putting it in a paper so that somebody else can see and say, yes, this is what happens. No, this is, I don't do this. Right? So that's more like what you need to do. Okay, so how do you move between quadrants? You go to Q4 to Q3 or then Q3 to Q2, Q2 to Q1, and you're done. So what is the skill required? You have to recognize which quadrant you are in and then use the right tool. Keep moving. We're almost coming to an end of this session. I have few things which are like, which you can take back. So don't treat Q2 as Q1. So these are the things. So be very clear on whether you know the problem and you have a solution. Then you are in Q1. If you know the problem, I mean, Q1, Q2 is what I have put as Q1, Q2. These are not industry standard or anything. Okay, so just consider that there is a problem, there's a solution, and both can be unknown. And are you using the right tools? So there are prompts for Q2, Q3, Q4 and all. What is AI excelling at? It can ask you questions. You can brainstorm with AI, right? I want to build this. Ask me questions. So it will start asking you more questions, which will force you to think. Maybe you haven't thought about those aspects. AI may not know your context, which you will have to give, right? And what is your role? Your role is telling how, I mean, what has to be done. So you tell, okay, this is what I'm aiming for. And then you have to move AI in a direction in that, I mean, move AI's questioning or the prompting in the direction of getting to the vision. Okay. So one is problem definition prompt. So how do you define the problem? What I'm observing. Okay, so you can write what I'm observing is this, and then you can iterate with AI on how do I make it into a problem statement, and then you can also work on 5 why with AI, and then you can also do, we saw, no, you can also iterate on the solution with AI, saying, okay, this is the solution that I'm trying to do. How exactly do you think? What problems will I face? Right? The 5 why you can do. 5 why is ask me why one at a time. Okay, this is a very painful thing with some of these tools. Most of them will ask all the whys at once. No, the second why has to be based on the answer that I'm giving. Right? So you will have to tell it some multiple times for it to get the thing that we are doing a 5 why and it has to ask this why one at a time. The key is wait for my answer. Okay. So the prompt 3 is you can test your assumptions. You can get different perspectives. Give me 5 different stakeholder perspective. This is my problem. How will somebody react to it? Okay. Okay, so now you had a problem when we started, right? Is that still a projective or do you have a problem out of it? Is your situation? Which quadrant is the are you in the situation with respect to problem and solution? If you do it here, you're not getting an answer, we'll be able to help. Now, this is a quick reference for you. Which quadrant are you in? What method will you use? You can take a screenshot or a photo of it, and anyway, I'll be sharing this. Are you all there? Can I get few yes, no, maybe? Okay. So what did we do today? We said we will have to um, write your problem properly. Define your problem as half the solution itself. Then you pick your battles, circle of control. How do you get something into your circle of control? And at least identify. If you're fighting something in the circle of concern just for the kick of it, it's fine. But then realize you're operating in circle of concern and don't expect magical results. If you're working in the circle of influence, don't get frustrated that, oh, things are not happening because you are working in the circle of influence. Ideal thing is to start working in the circle of control and then expand. Um, Remember who your users are and think of human centric design, which is basically ask them for their pain points. Don't ask them what do you want. If you ask them what do you want, the solution that they give, they themselves are not clear of what they want. So ask them their pain points. This is when you're trying to define your problem better. And based on where you are, choose your tools. And then use AI as and when they are necessary. So if you have one habit from today, when you encounter a problem, if you're able to think, is this a problem or a projective? Where am I in? What is the right tool to use? If you can get to it, this session is a success. At least, I mean, it's a habit. As it's written, it's a habit. So, not that you'll be able to do it all the time. At least at the end of it, when the solution fails, if you're able to say, maybe the problem was not defined properly. Maybe I did the wrong tool. Maybe I didn't iterate enough, right? If you're able to find out, I think that's how you will become a master at problem solving. Okay. So, we are done. So, if there are questions,
Very nice session, I must say, Smita.
thank you. Yeah. So, questions? How can there be no questions for this? Everything, it's easier to work at the philosophy level, no, Amit. Mix with life experience.
So, Smita, ma'am has just been very busy last 2 weeks. Her daughter got married. So, how was the wedding, ma'am?
Very, very, very nice.
Are you
Simple.
missing her? Are you missing her now?
She's in the same town, so nothing much.
How far away?
5 kilometers.
Okay. Good, good, good.
It's not physical going, no? It is the thought that you're not able to poke fingers at her life again.
Yeah, yeah. Right, right. So there's a question. Can you please provide a general
Hmm.
syntax for writing a prompt for a specific problem of a similarity? It's up all yours.
Jen, just see that Raj Mahanti, just read your question once more. General syntax for writing a prompt for specific problems for a similar discipline. I think you'll have to rewrite that question for me to answer that. Okay, it looks a little confusing for me. My details, I'll put my LinkedIn. Smith, okay, I'll
Yeah,
also
yeah, you can
write
share your
my,
LinkedIn. Yeah, you can share your
yeah,
LinkedIn
and
profile. Yeah.
yeah, and my email ID also.
Yes. Don't spam her, guys.
Yeah. No, I'll be
Every day
happy.
I'm getting almost 50 messages from all the faculty members who are not listening. Where is the attendance going to be? Where is the assessment going to be? Is it going to be on Atal? My phone is constantly pinging.
But
So, guys, for everyone, assessment is on Future Skills Prime, attendance is on Zoom. And if you are not able to log in to Future Skills Prime, then please take a little video where you have put your login ID and password as your email, and it is not showing the correct, it is not allowing you to log in. Just shoot that little video and send it on email to support at Future Skills Prime, and you can copy me, Kamna at nascom.in. So that's it for today. Then
yeah,
I guess
thank
there are no
you.
questions.
Yeah,
So thank you, Smita. Thank you for that. Thank you,
thank
faculty
you.
members. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so
Tomorrow
much.
again we will meet at 6 o'clock. So please join then. Okay, bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye.